he's one of these guys that, and it's like any of us. He has control over his body. So one day you could tell he wasn't feeling good, and he coughed, and he told himself, "Stop it, stop it." I'm like, "Coach, you talking to me?" He's like, "No, I'm telling myself I don't get sick." And I'm like, "What?"
All right, welcome in. We got week 3 of college football. Week 1, so much excitement. Week 2, so many good games. Week 3, womp womp. Not as good, not as many great matchups. But Brent Rollins here with me again. Remember, he writes or PFF, does the video stuff for UGA, the film Don't Lie. Knows everything about the stats and the numbers with college football, college football fanatic. Brent, there's some good games. What are those games out there that are catching our eyes that we need to be talking about?
Couple ranked matchups, but like we talked about last week, college football always delivers no matter what the slate is. And first, we're going to go to a Friday night game. It's a conference, yet not a non-conference conference game, however you want to term that, where Arizona is now traveling to Kansas State on Friday night. Arizona with the comeback win, by the way, over Northern Arizona, and now has the longest active winning streak in the FBS since Michigan lost. So,
oh yeah, I had that. I knew that. No, I did not. No, nobody knew that Arizona had the longest win streak. Here's the thing about when you say Kansas State, like they got lucky to win last week too. You watched the Tulane game. Interesting PI. Kansas State hasn't looked like Kansas State so far. It's been kind of interesting to watch them, but you got that North Oconee Titans hat on, big scoop and score by Jack Fabris to really win that game for Kansas State. When I watch Kansas State, first of all, unbelievable team year in and year out. They do it a multitude of ways. One of the best teams in the country, scoring non-offensive touchdowns. The last 10 years, they're number 1 in the country. So special teams always good. Defense finds ways to score. They're always disciplined. They're always tough. The thing I've seen about Kansas State so far that's been a little bit concerning is offensively, Avery Johnson is the next guy. And you saw him in the bowl game. I think it was the Pop-Tart bowl game, something like that, something crazy. But he's super freaky, super athletic. And in this matchup, it could be a high-scoring game, just like last week with Tulane, because Kansas State's defense struggling. Gideon's running the football. Avery Johnson running the football. Dylan Edwards running the football. The physicality of Kansas State, to me, should win this game against an Arizona team that's banged up. Like Noah Fafita, by the way, if you can't pronounce his name, by the way, way easier than Nico's name to pronounce, but Noah Fafita is unbelievable. And T-Mac McMillan, this dude – people don't know who he is yet, Brent, but he's going to be a top wide receiver. He's going to be the top wide receiver taken. I mean, 6'4", freaky in and out of breaks, catches the ball away from his body every single time, like moves like a small guy, but he's a huge guy. Like, listen, a top pick. But what you watched last week was Northern Arizona. What happened to them? They bracketed him. They double teamed. They took this whole offense out of sync. And Arizona looked very human a week ago as opposed to what they looked like in the first game when T-Mac had 10 for 300 yards in one game. That was one game, Brent. That one game.
Which is amazing when you think about Northern Arizona. So you look at Tetaroa, I think is how you say his first name. But McMillan, all of last season and then this season, the team he's had the least receptions against, Northern Arizona, twice. Last year, only 3 catches against Northern Arizona. So, that will, can they get him rolling in this game? And then also you mentioned Avery Johnson. 82% of his rushing yards, like he had over 300 rushing yards last year, 82% were design runs. This year, that's been like twice, I think 2 carries maybe that are true design runs. Very small percentage of that. I think you see more of that this week.
And Arizona is giving up 7 yards a rush to quarterbacks, which is not good. But here's another thing, too. When I watch, and this is the last thing on EMA, Every Man a Wildcat, Kansas State, which is a fantastic program. Connor Riley, former offensive line coach, first-time play caller. Avery Johnson, not the biggest guy in the world. One of the highest recruits, by the way, to come to Kansas State. I mean, this dude was highly recruited, highly touted, really good athlete. You don't run those guys the whole time. You can't run them the whole season to survive. He's not built like that. So I think you have to limit the touches of him getting the football. So you probably see some of that early. But when you get into Big 12 play, which we are not, by the way, because they played this game when they were not Big 12 opponents, so it doesn't count against their Big 12 record. So there's 4 teams in the Big 12 that are ranked in the top 25. These are 2 of them, but this is a non-conference game. It means absolutely nothing when you start to see the conference standings in the end, which is kind of weird and kind of strange. But this game obviously matters for psychologically and for down the road.
Yeah. All right, so next up, we're going to a game where there's a lot of positive vibes in a certain place. They're 2-0. I'll just say that there's a little more attention and things going on in Columbia, South Carolina this week as LSU travels to Columbia, South Carolina to play against the first place South Carolina Gamecocks.
I like how you
They're the only
said
one
that.
who has an SEC win, so they're the first place Gamecocks right now.
I like how you said that. And listen, South Carolina should be jacked. They should be excited for two reasons. One, when I look at South Carolina, the defense and specifically the edge, holy cow. Watch number 5, watch number 6. Dylan Stewart and Kyle Kennard. Like, they come off the ball with a purpose. They know how to rush the passer. One's a freshman, one's a senior, so a balance of experience and youth and highly recruited, but like number 1 in pressure rate in the country. And here's the thing I do know, Brent. After playing in that stadium at 12 o'clock, it's Africa hot. It is hot. Oh my gosh, is it hot in South Carolina? The fans are that's one of the best atmosphere. In the 90s, when they were losing every single game, that place was sold out and it was electric. So the fans will show out. It will be hot. It will be a test. And by the way, this is not a game that we were like, yeah, LSU had to win before the season. We kind of looked at this and was like, yeah, maybe this is a kind of a breather for LSU. Dude, LSU, what's the schedule look like, man? Because I don't know that there's many breathers now. You lose to USC, you looked okay against Nicholls State, but we were looking at Alabama and some of those teams down the road, but they better watch out this week.
Very much so. And the point you mentioned about Kennard, number 5, by the way, in that edge group, Georgia Tech transfer, like he's already kind of at half of what his peak production was at Tech. So maybe talk to hey, what's it like when you have the freak show Dylan Stewart freshman on the other side? How do you play off of one another? How does that help each other in a way?
Oh, it's so much fun. When you have another great pass rusher, they don't double team you as much. And I loved it at Georgia because coach would be like, well, you pick your side. Like, you get to pick who you want to go against. So you always go get like freshman on the right. Okay, I want to go get him. But having two guys now that you're running away from one side to the other side and you work in tandem. Man, Jonathan Sullivan was my defensive tackle for my sophomore year. I didn't realize how easy it was to get sacks. Like, he got pushed and bounced them to me. So they work in tandem. But it's interesting about the matchup, Brent, because LSU is one of the best in the country at protecting the quarterback. And if you watch their offensive line, they got Will Campbell on the left tackle spot, who's going to be a top 10 pick, who's the best tackle in football. They've got the best 1-2 punch. So they've got a quarterback that's a 4-year guy in Garrett Nussmeier that you saw the stage wasn't too big for him against USC when they played in Las Vegas. And the thing I like about Garrett Nussmeier is he knows his answers. Like, when he steps up, he's not holding on to the football too long. So that will be the big matchup because the secondary will have to hold up consistently. And here's another thing about rushing the passer, Brent. It's exhausting. And I think LSU is going to make you do it over and over and over. And when those big boys hold up and you get the ball out and you move the chains and you get the ball out and you move the chains, it's exhausting. So I like LSU in this game strictly because of the quarterback play. I mean, I think because of the 4 years experience. Now, listen, Lenora Sellers has showed me something. Like, week 1 to week 2, first of all, his specs are amazing. So respect the specs.
Respect the specs.
But last week he was really good. 10 for 14, made big plays in the passing game. Rocket Sanders is running the ball. If that name sounds familiar, this is what college football is now, right? Like, he had 1,400 yards for Arkansas. So I think they have to run the football. They have to establish that. Yeah. LSU doesn't have to. Like, they're not worried about the passing game as much. But I think USC, the crowd at noon can help them hang around. But that pass rush is going to have to be as vaunted as it has been.
Yeah, and you mentioned LSU's schedule. Like, that's they got a gauntlet still coming up to if they want to get into college football playoff contention. All right, last ranked matchup now, a matchup that didn't necessarily think it would be a ranked matchup, but an ACC SEC tilt. We got, and you get a little interview with Coach Drink coming up here soon. But Boston College at Missouri, and by the way, Missouri now. Only team in college football we've yet to give up a point that's played 2 games. Purdue they only played 1 game, didn't give up a point, but still taking care of business in their games. What do you see with BC, Mizzou?
Well, and Missouri, like, they haven't given up points. Corey Batoon's their new defensive coordinator because their DC went to LSU. they've scored on a pick 6. So they're 2 games, but they haven't played anybody. Buffalo and Murray State, I think, is who they've played. So, like, I'm still learning about Missouri's defense, but I do know about Missouri's offense. And I do know that when you look at Cook, Brady Cook, he grew up a Missouri fan. Like, it means something to him. Like, and he's had some ups and downs and some trials, which I think is good. But 1, 2, 3. What do I say? 1, 2, 3. Their playmakers on the outside, number 1, number 2, and number 3. Theo Weiss this year has been the guy. He's been the featured guy. I think that will change, but Theo Weiss transfers from Oklahoma, like big, tall target on the outside, guy that can go get it. Number 2, Marquise Johnson. Dude averaged 30 yards a catch a year ago. Like, he was a big play machine. Again, a guy they will find make big plays. And number 3, everybody knows Luther Burden. Like, this dude is an absolute superstar. He had over 1,200 yards. Like, he stayed in Missouri. He was a 5-star recruit, one of the best recruits. I think the second best recruit to ever come out of Missouri. Dorial Green-Beckham, remember the receiver that was really, really highly recruited that went to Missouri. So he's in that vein. He's freaky good. So I'm interested to see this offense. It becomes more explosive. This offense is really balanced too, Brent. Like, they run the football. The quarterback can run the football. Brady Cook's averaging 9 yards a carry. And then Boston College. Like, I think we know that, right? Like, they're one of the best at running the football in the country.
They run it 2/3 of the time, more than anybody in the, I guess we say Power 4, by the way.
Power 4, yes. It's not
we
Power
say
5
that
anymore.
Is that the proper term? I think we should just go back to 1A and 1AA, but that's just my opinion. But anyway, they run it more than anyone, and it's 4 different guys. It's specifically at QB with Castellanos. He's little something. He's about my size. He's a little thicker probably than me, but oh well.
And
small guy.
Just a smidge more athletic. I mean, just
a little bit.
I mean, you're an athletic dude, Brent. But like, and that's the thing for BC is, can they run the football? Like, 3 backs over 100 yards. Tommy is a stud. We all saw him against FSU, but that is a good point, by the way. And I wrote that down when I was studying this. He's 5'9". So I'm just telling you, when you rush the passer and when you play defense against a guy like that, who's, first of all, he's an elite athlete, can run away from just about anybody in the field. When he drops back to pass, I build a fence. I build a fence around him. I don't try to go get sacks. I build walls. Literally, I put people around him. We rush and we control him and we keep him in the pocket and we make him do his damage there. And I think that's something to look for. Can BC be explosive in the passing game? I think Missouri is going to win this game because I think Missouri has more balance. Noel and Carroll running the football. I think defensively, their interior of the defensive line is physical. I think that they're a good unit. I think they've got a shutdown corner. I think Missouri makes it hard for Boston College to score, but there's no doubting, man, Bill O'Brien's effect. Like, take Tommy at the quarterback spot, and you all marvel at him week 1 for their first game against Florida State. It was a great game. Last year, his passing numbers, Brent, Mr. Stat, Mr. Nerd Guy, his passing numbers he was the last ranked passer in all of college football. This year, in come Bill O'Brien, he's number 1 right now at 94. So he went from 57 to 94. And
PFF grade.
I think that just shows you, like, he's Bill O'Brien with better coaching, unleashing his potential. It's just, to me, can the BC receivers out wide make plays? I know Missouri's got some speed. I mean, they just got some dudes that can get it. So I think it's easier for them to make bigger plays. But who cares what I think? Let's hear what Eli Drinkwitz thinks from Missouri, the head guy. Eli Drinkwitz of the Missouri Tigers. Coach, huge year a year ago. 10 wins, first time it's been done since 2014 at your school. A lot of momentum, a lot of talking about the Missouri Tigers. When you talked about building a program and you wanted to recruit St. Louis and finding some of those great players like you have on your roster, how did it start?
Well, it started just like you're saying. We went in with a plan to recruit St. Louis, Kansas City, the state of Missouri, better than anywhere else, and then you try to develop your team as quickly as you can. We got really fortunate that they allowed the transfer portal and NIL that kind of expedited our ability to add quality talent to our team. But, last year's draft, I think we, tied the record for 6 draft picks. 5 of them were kids that were recruited as high school players. The 6th was a transfer. So and those guys had been here the whole time. They were here with me in 2020 and had been through the ups and downs. Now you got this year, you got Brady Cook, who's been with us the whole time, going on my 5th season. He's been here all 5 years. You got Luther Burden, who's been here 3 years. You've also added a few transfers in, Drayden Norwood, Chuck Hicks, Christian Williams. But you still have the fruits of the high school recruiting, Armand Membu, who's from Kansas City. So it's kind of a mix of both, and it's been a really good ability for us to develop players, bring in the right kind of players, blend that brotherhood together, and try to be as competitive as quickly as we can.
Well, and Coach, I think some fans, like, naturally they've gotten upset with NIL. They've gotten upset with the transfer portal because it's not the norm and it's different. Yeah. But I will continue to say, I think it creates more balance across college football, because you got a lot of guys that used to go sit for a couple years and be like, well, I'm going to stay there and I'm going to stay at Alabama years ago. And then all of a sudden you see Reuben Foster come in. He's just been sitting there for 2 years and he's a first-round pick after one season. Like, right. I mean, it's really created more balance in college football, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's created more balance and more opportunity for players to showcase their skill sets. You know, NIL is just unique for people. You used to think of amateurism as a certain way, and now the reality of it is these guys create, you know, we've got a streak of 9 sellouts in a row, and that's a tribute to these players coming in and winning football games, and now they get a piece of that, which I think is rightfully so. I mean, there's not really any other organization where if you do all the work, you don't receive some sort of rewards. Even in manufacturing jobs and all these other stuff, you know, if businesses hit a certain quota, they get, you know, bonuses and stuff like that. So for our guys to receive payment for that, I think is an awesome thing. Obviously, there's got to be some rules and stipulations to it at some point in the future. They'll figure that out. But I think it's been a very beneficial thing for the players. And I think it's just like anything else, you know, when it's new, you either have to adapt or die. There's going to be some people that are resistant to it, and that's perfectly fine. That's their choice. For me, you know, I try to use it as, how can this be a competitive advantage for us? How can we adapt to it? And it's been a huge positive for us.
Yeah, when you talk about your coaching career and coming from App State, but I look at the list of guys that you were involved with. It's a pretty good list, man. With Gene Chizik at Auburn, you were with Gus Malzahn at Arkansas State, you were with Harsin, you were with Doran at NC State. Like, a lot of coaches. You got any stories on any of those guys, or even if it's not a story that you have, but just those guys and how you took some things from one or the other, or both?
Yeah, man, I've got a lot of great stories. I mean, Gene
come on,
Chizik,
give me one.
I'll never forget driving him. We were recruiting during the week of the national championship game. There was it had opened up. We were in Phoenix. We're going to go see an offensive lineman. I was going to have to drive him after a practice. I take a wrong turn. It's me, Coach Chizik, and Trooper Taylor in the car. I pull a U-turn in the middle of Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, in the middle of the road, and Chiz is looking at me like, and he's like, man, that takes a big set of balls to pull a U-turn with the head coach in the car. And I was like, I didn't even think about it. I was like, yeah, I guess you got to have a little bit of crazy to you, because in my mind, I was just trying to get there. I didn't even think about the reality of it.
It wasn't an option,
or something like that. Yeah, you know, with Coach Malzahn. There's probably too many stories to tell, and probably none that he would really like for me to tell, other than I can tell you exactly what he's going to order at Sonic, at Chick-fil-A. I mean, when I was the GA, I was his food go-getter.
What's his Chick-fil-A order?
Oh, well, at breakfast, he's going to get a sausage burrito. He's going to get hash browns, and he's going to get a Dr. Pepper. You know, at Sonic, he's going to get a supersonic double cheeseburger. At Jimmy John's, he's going to get Italian nightclub, you know. So, and at Taco Bell, he's going to get soft tacos. So, and he's going to get about 6 of them.
So you couldn't talk him into maybe eating healthier than making better choices?
Really, look, here's the best story about Coach Malzahn. Okay, he's one of these guys that, and it's like any of us. He has control over his body. So one day you could tell he wasn't feeling good, and he coughed. And he told himself, stop it. I'm like, Coach, you talking to me? He's like, no, I'm telling myself I don't get sick. And I'm like, what? He goes, I hadn't missed work in 28 years. So he's telling himself, stop it. You don't get sick.
Hey, we've heard that. We've heard that message before, Eli. You tell yourself, you know, who you are, be confident, be positive. Listen, I don't get sick, okay? That is not me.
Yeah, stop it. You don't get sick. So
I'm going to use that with my kids from now on too. I'm going to use that. We're going to use that in the Pollack family.
yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, look, you've always heard what is it? Talk to yourself, don't listen to yourself.
Yes,
As
sir.
part of that mental health and sports psychology. Coach just took that to a different level with sickness.
I like that. All right, Coach, when you talk about the game this week, Boston College has kind of come out of nowhere to start the season. Billy O'Brien taking over, kind of changing their mindset and who they are. When you look at Brady Cook, like here's why I love the kid, man. You can tell like that kid loves where he's at. Like he loves Missouri. He's a tough sucker. Like I bet you every coach that you play against is like, man, I hate playing against that kind of guy. Yeah. Like, what does he mean for the program? And what's something about him that just makes him unique?
Well, I think what makes him unique is his love for the University of Missouri, and he wants to be a Tiger. It's old school. It's like you growing up in Georgia wanting to play for the Bulldogs. It's the same kind of thought process, man. He grew up black and gold, and that's what and he's living the dream every single day. He realizes it's a blessing to have the opportunity to play, and I think he's doing a really good job of living in the moment. He's not worried about what's next or the next game. He's just enjoying every opportunity he has right now to get to play. I think the coolest thing for him is it started really bad, and he stuck to it. He had grit. I mean, he's been here. He's been the starter for 3 seasons now, and it's been terrible. And then it's gotten better, progressively better. And I think he's just been able to focus on the moment and doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. And I think one of the coolest thing about him is that, he went to the Manning Passing Academy. He developed relationships with these other quarterbacks, and he's an encourager. And so he sends quarterbacks all over the country text, whether good games, bad games, just to keep them encouraged. And I think that's rare in this world, man, for somebody to actually care about other people and doesn't want anything from it. He probably doesn't even want anybody to know that he's doing it. But he's a rare leader, and it's really fortunate that he's on our team.
Yeah, Coach, I think that's cool. When you hire your staff, obviously you bring guys in to change a culture, and you've done that. But now last year, Blake Baker leaves. He goes to LSU. You bring in Corey Batoon, a new DC. The defense, by the way, it's been all right. I mean, 2 shutouts to start the season. What do we expect from this defense? Because coming into the season, we all know Luther Burden's a freak, and he's going to go make plays, and Brady Cook's back, and running back, obviously, replacing Schrader's a big deal. But this defense, like, who are the guys that we will expect to see as the season goes along that you're like, oh, okay, like, how do I not miss that guy?
Yeah, I think on the interior, you'll like to hear about this. I mean, we got 2 defensive tackles, Christian Williams and Chris McClellan. Chris transferred to us from the University of Florida. Both of those guys, I mean, they both weigh 300, 305 pounds, but they're really good athletes, twitchy off the ball. And I think that's been so effective for us because it's cleaned up our Mike and Will linebacker position. We've had a transfer of Corey Flagg, and then we have Tristan Newsome at the Will linebacker position. Those guys are making plays tackle to tackle. Obviously at the ends position, we've got Zion Young and Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker was Cotton Bowl MVP, and those guys play well. In this league, if you're strong up the middle, you have an opportunity to be successful. And then I think at our safety position, Marvin Burks is a true sophomore that's really come into his own as that boundary safety position. And I think he's been a difference maker. Obviously, last week he played, or 2 weeks ago, he played quite a bit down in the box. Last week he played away from the box and had an interception. So his versatility has really helped our defense. We haven't really been tested yet. Coach O'Brien's going to test us this weekend. He always does a tremendous job with his quarterbacks, whether you're talking about Christian Hackenberg at Penn State or Deshaun Watson or Tom Brady. And now he's got Thomas Castellanos, who is a freak athlete, 5'9", can really run, can throw the football from the state of Georgia, got a Kyler Murray comparison. So we're going to have to do a really good job of staying great in our rush lanes, still covering tight coverage because he can throw into zone windows. And we're going to have to do a really good job of surrounding the quarterback. I think the biggest thing you have to do when you play a athletic quarterback is it's not containing him, it's surrounding him, and you got to be able to have everybody involved in that.
Yeah, and it stinks with a guy like him because you play the first play, but it's the second play, and it's the third play that it's exhausting to play against. When you hire a new DC like that, Coach, is it somebody that you played against and it just annoyed you, or do you talk to people? Like, what does that process look like when you're making a change?
There's a lot of different things that play into it, and really you start with a list and you start making calls and you start doing interviews. And then you start whittling it down. And kind of what happened was there was a couple of guys that were suggested to me. And both times people were like, hey, if you hire this guy on the front end, you got to go hire Corey Batoon on the back end. He'll really get it going. And I was like, well, if I got to hire Corey Batoon on the back end, why wouldn't I just hire him in the first place? And, something that I think has been effective for us at the University of Missouri is kind of hiring guys that have maybe been overlooked or hasn't necessarily gotten their shot after it's been well-deserved. And you look at Corey's past, whether he's a defensive coordinator at Hawaii or Liberty, at Ole Miss, at Arkansas in the secondary, he's always been around a really good defense, but he just never got his opportunity. And man, he's done an excellent job at South Alabama. And so for me, it was like, man, give somebody an opportunity. They're going to have the right kind of chip on their shoulder. They're going to be grateful for the opportunity. And just like the rest of us, they're going to have something to prove. And when you can get a culture and a mindset, like you got that right kind of chip on your shoulder, not the world owes you anything, but you want to show the rest of the world like, hey, I earned this the hard way. It kind of comes alive. And that's really kind of what our defense has come to. It's they're taking on the personality of Corey, and not fiery and fierce, but man, just tactical, detailed, and earning their opportunity.
And 32 years of coaching experience. He's been coaching as long as you were alive almost. So he's definitely been around the block. What's your message to your team? Last question. What's your message to your team? You're getting a lot of love this year, Coach, not like last year. Last year you could play the underdog card more. This year people are talking about you, obviously ranked highly. What's the message to the team week in and week out to stay on track and just stay focused?
Yeah, I think each week you got to earn your opportunity. Look, nobody really, the beautiful thing about football is the more you win, the more the next game really matters. And you got to earn your opportunity. I think the way you get humbled in football is you get arrogant. And arrogance is, man, we're in the SEC, or we're more talented, or I can skip steps this week. Instead of being humble, and your confidence in turn comes from your preparation. So there's a difference between arrogant and confidence, right? And so for us, our challenge is each week you got to earn that confidence through how you practice to show up on Saturday and play good. And so it really all comes down to, hey, what did you do on Toughness Tuesday in order to have confidence in your game plan? And for us, Toughness Tuesday is first and second down. Today's Winning Wednesday, which is situational football, third downs, red zone, 4-point plays. And so it's all about, hey, you got to earn your opportunity to be confident in your preparation, and you earn that through practice today. And that's really our challenge. And then, I challenge our captains, like our team's going to follow your lead. So if y'all are doing extra this week because you're playing a ranked opponent, then they're going to do extra. But if you're like, well, we're talented enough, or we're good enough, or we can just show up, then we're going to go get our butt kicked. And that's the reality of it. They're perfectly talented enough and good enough to beat us. They're a really solid football team. All three phases play in cohesiveness. So for us, we got to go out and play our best game. And the only way you know for sure that you're going to play your best game is when you look back on Tuesday practice and say, I did what I needed to do to practice. You look back on Wednesday's practice, you come back on Thorough Thursday, you spend an extra 15, 20 minutes in film. Fast Friday, you perform at the fast game level speed that you need to. Then you'll lay your head on that pillow on Saturday night and you'll dream of the plays you're going to make, but you'll have confidence that you're going to make them.
It's got to be nice having a guy like Brady Cook that understands that loves Missouri, that wants to take advantage of every opportunity. And for y'all that don't know, Toughness Tuesday absolutely sucks for a football player, okay? Yeah. It is unfun, okay? It is basically tackle to the ground, knock the crud out of each other, inside drill, all the physical stuff. Like inside some people call it Bloody Tuesday.
Yep.
It's all the not so fun stuff that goes into practice.
I think one of the things that gets overlooked for us last year in the Cotton Bowl was Toughness Tuesday fell on Christmas Day. And so, we opened Christmas presents in the morning as a team and everything. And then we went full pads on Tuesday. We did inside drill on Christmas Day, and our guys absolutely cherished it. They relished it, man. They loved it because they knew, hey, nobody else in the country is going to be doing inside drill on Christmas Day. And I hope as long as those guys are telling stories, they'll always remember on Christmas Day, like, hey, man, you remember in 2023 when we played in the Cotton Bowl, man, we did Toughness Tuesday. We had inside drill. And that's something that I don't have any sons, but when I have grandsons someday, I'm going to remind them on Christmas Day. Maybe I'll even let them open up inside drill on Christmas and watch it with them or something.
Yeah, have some bruises, some inside bruises from that. That's pretty cool, Coach. Thanks for joining us. Good luck in a ranked matchup this week versus Boston College.
Yeah, man, appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. Totally respect what you're doing and love the insight that you provide. So appreciate it.
Thanks, my man. All right. Thank you, Coach. Obviously, a lot of excitement building. First 10-win season since 2004. Excited to watch Missouri against Boston College. Not something I thought I would have said before the season. But, Brent, who needs to show you something this weekend?
I think first for me is Oklahoma. They got
Yeah.
Tulane coming in, who almost took care of business against Kansas State. Oklahoma just held on against Houston. And it's one where I vividly remember watching the entirety of the game in 2021 when Michael Pratt almost single-handedly beat Oklahoma at Oklahoma when Tulane played there 3 years ago. This is the one where you got Tennessee coming next week. Show me something. Show me that you're one of those upper echelon teams and a true playoff contender.
And if you're not watching Oklahoma, man, just a ton of injuries. Offensive line is a big question mark up front with injuries. Receivers have to make play. Jack Arnold obviously continuing to grow, and the defense has been really good for Oklahoma, and then that's going to need to continue because you saw Tulane last week against Kansas State. So I would say Oklahoma offense, like it's definitely time to show me something. How about Oregon, man? Like the Ducks, dude. I'm a believer, man. A lot of people picking the Ducks to win a national title. Like Dan Lanning, exciting. The brand that is Oregon, exciting.
Yes.
NIL, transfer portal. Like we're going and grabbing Stewart from A&M, and we're grabbing Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma, like we were just talking about. And so I think the program's doing this. So far to start the season, it's like this, Brent. It's up and down and side to side. And first game, defense was great. Second game, defense wasn't good. First game, offense was very average. Second game, it was okay. But special teams saved the day. And sometimes great teams do that. Sometimes great teams find their way early and get better. But Oregon's going to have to show me something starting this week because the Beavers in the Pac-2, with the two-pack, or the whatever we want to call it now, what's left with them with Washington
That's
State.
pretty good. More back in our day.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting with that, but they're going to have to show us something.
All right, next one for me is Florida State. Yeah. You're 0-2. You had a week off, reset. You've got Memphis coming down, and Seth Hannigan and the Memphis Tigers, like that, they're legit. And they're looking to be that. They're looking to be that G5 team that makes the playoff. Because if you look at Florida State's schedule, bowl eligibility will be a difficult task if they do not get this game.
Say that for the people in the back. I mean, you just said out loud, Florida State bowl eligibility. So 0-2, rough start. Now, listen, here's the thing with Florida State, man. Not all the time are you going to bring in transfers, and it always mesh. And they're one of the most highly active people in the transfer portal. So Florida State fans, I know you're ticked, and you should be. Like, it was a rough start, but like, I'm interested to see how they respond because it tells me a lot about Mike Norvell. It tells me a lot about the guys that they're recruiting and what's inside their chest. So they got to get the run game figured out. They haven't been able to run the football out. Listen, DJU has not been great. He's not the main problem. The main problem is you can't run the football consistently, and that power's got to come back. You're giving up the run game to Georgia Tech, to Boston College. So, I mean, Florida State's got a good opportunity, man. Memphis is good, and they should know they're good. And you're right, they can score some points. All right, man.
So one more thing that you talk about, just the off week piece there, and showing you something with coach and team and all that. This early piece of their schedule is so unique, where they had the week 0 game and then that early off week. And when you're coming off 2 losses like that, all the little things that coaches care about to the nth degree, you know, how much you're paying attention, how much belief, all the sort of ancillary factors, those matter to the nth degree when in the early season like that.
They matter big time. And you listen, by the way, a lot more keenly when you've been punched in the mouth. Like when you think you were really good, and that's why it's good to play a good opponent early, and they played Georgia Tech. Like they should have had your attention. And then when you rebound Boston College, it's like, Boston College. Well, now you know they're pretty daggum good. So yep. Florida State, obviously a lot to prove. All right, man, I'm going to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And here's why they got to show me something, because I got to know what they're going to be offensively. I know what they are defensively. They're going to be really good. Like, they're going to be consistent. They're not going to give up a bunch of big plays. They gave up one last week to NIU, and it was too many. I mean, and NIU beat them. But the offense, what is it going to look like? They run the football okay, pretty solid, but they've got to do a better job of now play action pass, or they've got to change the structure of their system, because when I look at Riley Leonard is a much better thrower than drop back guy that's going to decipher the defense and make plays. Now he's also been hit and dinged up, and so that's not good either. But I need to be able to use his feet with designed runs, with him being at least a design threat to open up space, to continue to run the football, which makes throwing easier and makes them decide more. Because I think they got a conflict, man. They got to figure that out, because they're the second worst play action passing team in the country. For a team that runs the ball pretty good, that ain't good. Like, that's really bad. And here's the thing. Here's the interesting part.
Strength.
Yes. But by the way, boiler up. Like Purdue, if you can watch Purdue, like, you missed out on an unbelievable performance. 24 of 25 for Hudson Card. Does that name sound familiar? Yeah, because he played at Texas. You saw him. Good athlete, can scramble around. But that kind of efficiency, throwing for almost 300 yards, throwing for 4 tutties. And guess what? If they can score and Notre Dame can't, goodness gracious, like, Notre Dame could be in trouble. So, I mean, we got to figure this offense out. Notre Dame, Al Golden's going to do his thing on defense, but a bunch of big games. We'll figure out a bunch of stuff. We'll be back next week to talk, and this is the worst part of the show by far. We always got to tell you, if you like the show, hit that subscribe button. Everything we do is free. Everything we do is bringing good college football content. If you don't like it, that's fine. You can tell us to kick rocks, but we'll be back again next week.